Okay, let's take a look at the examples for Unit 2, Lesson 2. At the end of 12th grade, Mary's aunt starts putting money in a bank account for her to use after graduating from college 4 years later. The first deposit was $300. If R is the annual interest rate of the account, then at the end of each school year, the balance in the account is multiplied by a growth factor of x equals 1 plus R. After 1 year of college, the total value is 300x. After 2 years of college, the total value is 300x times x, which equals 300x squared. Write an expression for the total value upon graduation in terms of x. So the thing to understand here is that she makes a deposit at the end of 12th grade, and that $300 is going to collect interest for 4 years, her 4 years of college. So if we follow this pattern here, after 1 year of college, the total value is 300x. After 2 years, the total value is 300x squared. So that means at the end of 4 years, it's going to have a value of 300x to the power of 4, x to the fourth. And that goes along with our lesson notes here. To write the function that gives the total money after n years, it's going to be the investment times x to the power of n. So in this case, my initial investment is $300, and it's accumulating interest for the 4 years of college, hence 300x to the fourth. Okay. If Mary's aunt had deposited another $500, at the end of her freshman year, write an expression for the total value of that deposit at the end of her senior year. So if she deposits another $500 at the end of freshman year, that means that $500 is going to collect interest for only 3 years this time. So that total would be 500x cubed, 500x to the power of 3. $500 investment, but it's only collecting interest for 3 years. All right. Number 3, suppose that $250 was deposited at the end of sophomore year and $400 at the end of junior year, in addition to the original 300 and the 500 deposit at the end of freshman year. Write an expression for the total value upon graduation in terms of x. So this was the end of 12th grade. Okay. This is at the end of freshman year. Okay, so in number 3, they're saying she makes a third deposit of $250 at the end of sophomore year, which means it's only going to collect interest for 2 years. So that's going to be 250x squared. So at the end of sophomore year, she makes a third deposit of $250, and that will only collect interest for 2 years. Okay, and now it's saying she makes a fourth deposit of $400 at the end of junior year. So at the end of junior year, she makes a fourth deposit of $400, but that is only going to collect interest for 1 year. So just 400x. So she makes 4 deposits total. The $300 deposit collects interest for 4 years. The $500 deposit collects interest for 3 years. The $250 deposit collects interest for 2 years. And the $400 deposit only collects interest for a year. To answer the overall question, write an expression for the total value upon graduation in terms of x. So if I want to know how much money will Mary have when she graduates college, all I'm going to do is take these 4 terms that I've already come up with, and I'm going to add them together. So it's going to be 300x to the fourth plus 500x cubed plus 250x squared plus 400x. So $300 collects interest for 4 years, $500 collects interest for 3 years, $250 collects interest for 2 years, and $400 collects interest for 1 year. If I add all that together, depending on what the interest rate is, I will be able to figure out how much money she actually has. So this right here is the answer to number 3. Number 4, well, what if the interest rate is 3%? So if the interest rate was 3%, how much money was in the account at the end of 4 years? So in this case, to find total money, we want to look at this second part right here. To find total money, plug in 1 plus r for x. R equals the interest rate as a decimal. Example, if the interest rate is 5%, I'm going to plug in 1 plus 0.05. Why? Where did I get 0.05 from? 0.05 is 5% as a decimal. So I would plug in 1.05 if my interest rate is 5%. Now, in the example here, my interest rate is 3%. So I'm going to plug in 1.03 for x. Okay, so that's going to look like this. 300 x to the fourth plus 500 x cubed plus 250 x squared plus 400 x. Now, I don't expect you to be able to calculate this on your own, so I'm literally going to put this into Desmos to make my life a little bit easier. And you can do that. So I'm literally going to type this into Desmos as is. So 300 times 1.03 to the power of 4 plus 500 times 1.03 to the power of 3 plus 250 times 1.03 to the power of 2 plus 400 times 1.03. Okay, and I put that in, I get this answer right here. Okay. Now, considering we're talking about money, we're going to round to 2 decimal places. So if the interest rate was 3%, how much money was in the account at the end of 4 years? It's going to be $1,561, $1,561.24. Okay. So by plugging in 1.03, I was able to figure out how much money Mary will have access to at the end of her senior year of college. Okay. $1,561.24. Okay. Your cool down is going to be something very similar. You can see here we have a different function with different numbers, but you should be able to answer the question based on that and based on the interest rate.